speed inside the 20, 15, 10. He's in. Touchdown ran.
Allo trying to toss it for Yarborough. Touchdown! Wow, what a catch. Cuts at the 5. Ball loose, and Dukeman catches it for a score. Step up, gets hit as he throws, looking to the end zone, and it's caught. Touchdown, Bruins. What a catch by Alexander.
10, 5, touchdown.
25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, A.J. Turner!
And here come the Cougar Nation. Northern Region champs.
The Gameday Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training, train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end zone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior, results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.
Welcome to another episode of Gameday All-Access. I'm your host, Andy Hayes, joined alongside Bruce Bornarth and David Liddle, back for another week here. Folks, you thought you could get rid of us. They thought they might be able to get rid of us, but it's just the playoffs. We're still here, Bruce. We're still here.
I was going to say, this is not just another week, not just another episode. This is the second season. This is the playoffs.
Right.
Think about it. 10-game regular season, right, David? And then 5 games in the playoffs. That's a season and a half.
And this is when it really gets fun, I think. I mean, it's always fun, but this is when it really gets fun. David, they tried to run us out. They thought maybe we'd just let you do the regular season. They tried to say, hey, game day. Hopefully these guys will go away, all those kids that are harping on us on Twitter. We're not going anywhere, are we?
No, we're still here, man. Playoffs, this is what it's all about. This is a great time of year. It's when you really get psyched and get out there, feed the frenzy.
I'm excited. But before we get to that, we have to go back and look at last week's action here on the Gameday Broadcast Network. And we'll start with our rewind today, talking about Briar Woods. And Bruce, you guys were there for this one. Yeah. This was a big game. You know, hyped to be a big game. It turned out to be a blowout. Briarwoods rolling all over Tuscarora. Talk to me a little bit about this and how Briarwoods was able to shut down the Tuscarora running game, and then they were able to find big plays offensively here in this one.
Well, that's what the story was. It was big plays for Briarwoods. It was 8-0 Briarwoods at the end of one. Tuscarora hanging in there, moving the ball a little bit, but not really finishing. Tuscarora, it seemed like every time they got something going, it's kind of shoot yourself in the foot. Either a penalty, a turnover, a miss here and there, and that's just what cost them. And you can't play like that against one of the top teams in the area. That just becomes a snowball. Briarwoods just got on a roll and just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, like that snowball and Rocky and Bullwinkle going downhill.
It was a downhill kind of night here for Briarwoods. Trace McSorley and crew finding success, really, anything they wanted to do here. Defensively, though, I didn't think Tuscarora played awful in this game. They just, once they fell behind, you know, it kind of took them out of their game plan. Then losing Noah Reimers to a concussion certainly was a big problem here. So Briarwoods now finished up a 9-1 campaign. But surprisingly, Briarwoods is not the number 2 seed. They fell back to the 3 seed based on their schedule. Loudoun County didn't help them with a loss to Heritage. Playing those Division 4 schools, Division 3 schools in their schedule really hurt their power points. We'll talk about that a little bit later on here. Move on to the next game here. How about Stonebridge? They actually did capture the number 2 seed. The Bulldogs had a game against Thomas Jefferson to close out the regular season. As we expected, they took care of business and took care of the Colonials. The one thing that we're all kind of curious about here with this Stonebridge team is this going to be a team that really starts to play their best football here in the final 5 weeks like they normally do? And we haven't seen them put it all together But I think there are signs, just watching the film a little bit, David, that Stonebridge is kind of starting to figure things out a little bit like they always do. You agree with that?
Yeah, well, look, you take a Ryan Burns, you take a John Allen away from any program, and you're going to go through a transition period. And I think what Stonebridge has done is they've come up. Thompson's done a great job at quarterback this year. You got Daly and Yarborough. You still got some of those skills, and you got a great offensive line. So they're starting to really piece it together. And I think Joe Thompson getting comfortable behind center, his first year at the varsity level, as far as really playing, he was there last year as a sophomore, but it makes a difference. And now you're 10 games into it. You got 5 more to go. You start really hitting your stride here. Boy, they could be in for another deep run.
Yeah, so the number 2 seed here for Stonebridge now, that's significant for Mickey Thompson's club. Even with 2 losses, their power points, they beat out Briarwoods. Again, their 2 losses are to Lake Braddock and to Westfield. So those are 2 quality opponents here. The one thing that is going to happen, it looks like, if things were to go like they're supposed to, based on the high seeds winning, we're finally going to get that game, Bruce. The one that you won't predict. We're going to get that game over Thanksgiving. That's coming up also in Inside the Huddle. All right, next game to talk about. Hey, Chantilly, Westfield. This game came down to the end here. Westfield leading in this ball game, 20-10. Chantilly makes it close toward the end, pulls within 3, and then they've got the ball. David Liddle, they're going down the field, and the long pass down, they could not get it caught in the end zone. That was the difference here in this one. Were you surprised to see Chantilly give Westfield that much of a trouble, at home against, I guess, with Chantilly, the way they've struggled closing out games recently? Did you think they'd be close in this one?
No, I actually thought Chantilly stepped up defensively and really did a great job of shutting down Westfield's offense, right? Yeah, big play at the end that could have won the game, but what I didn't quite understand is why Westfield was blitzing and leaving that corner in one-on-one coverage. I mean, that really could have cost them, not the season, but the game, and would have dropped them in the PowerPoint polls. And I don't know. A lot of things can happen in that last second. They guessed one way, and it was open. It just didn't get done.
Well, that's always a great rivalry game, and we talk about it all the time. You take the records and the seedings and all the things that are supposed to happen in rivalry games, throw it out the window. I mean, when those two play, it's always a tight game. I mean, I think in the last 10 years, it's come down to 7 points or less almost most of the time. Only one other time has it been a blowout. So again, a close ball game. Westfield gets the win. All right, how about Centerville here? Wildcats ranked number 1 in our power poll all season long. I did nothing but validate that with a 45-9 victory over Robinson. And boy, I tell you what, you want to see some highlights now. A.J. Turner had a great night. This run right here making people look silly. He didn't even have the ball. The ball was in the air. He grabbed it out of midair and was juking people up and down the sideline. And Charles Tutt, David, you did this game. Charles Tutt, I think, may have had 2 or 3 of the best plays I've seen all year long, including this long touchdown catch that he had later in the ball game. Talk to me a little bit about his night, because he was really the reason Centerville was able to pull away in this game and make it a runaway.
So it really became a 45-2 game after the first Robinson series. Joe Wilson came in, broke off one, got it into the end zone quickly for Robinson, and after a 3-and-out for each team, Tutt started his night by returning a kick, a punt, and he did a half-gainer somersault with a tuck. I was looking for him to land on his feet, but he fell off the beam, whatever, the gymnastics routine there, and it really started his night. He then had an interception that stopped the Robinson drive. He then had the incredible catch, the best catch I've seen all year, and then on the very next series after a 3-and-out, he returns a punt 55 yards for a score, and you got great downfield blocking out of the wall for the Wildcats on their special teams. Just an incredible night for Charles Tutt. A.J. Turner again doing his thing. Scott Walter lighting it up from the quarterback position, also rushed. And, David Liddle with the circus catch there on the turnaround pirouette doing the job. So Centerville, again, showing all their weapons and just really rolling. And
we're showing this highlight again. It was unbelievable how he came up with that ball. And the fact is you know that play was not really working with the throw. AJ, I got to give you a hard time, and you got to lead your guy a little bit. But, he puts it out there, and I'm sure Coach Haddock was saying, no, 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 yes, 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 yes. What a great play by Charles Tutt to pull that thing in. So Centerville rolls. They cruise on to a 10-0 regular season record. Second time in 3 years that they've done that. Impressive feat there with the Wildcats. Actually, no, they didn't do that.
They did not. They lost
I'm
Westfield in a close one.
That's right. My apologies on that. 10-0, big deal. First time in Chris Haddock's era over at Centerville that they've done that. All right, let's go to the next game. Patriot Battlefield. You know, Bruce and I, we continually hype up Battlefield, and we say don't bet against the Bobcats. You just can't do it. Well, guess what, folks? Patriot had other ideas, and the Red Nation down there is starting to catch some attention here with the way they're supporting their team and the way their team is playing. Bruce, we went against Battlefield in years past, and it always burned us, but we probably should have gone with Patriot with the way they played all season long. In this game, they closed it out 42-35. Your thoughts on this?
Well, first thought, when did I get in the boat with you of going against Battlefield?
Did you go? No, I'm saying we did it years ago, and it burned us, and so
wow,
we don't do that anymore.
A long time ago I got burned once in a while.
But we don't do that anymore. I mean, we got burned in this one.
We didn't. Well, yeah, because I picked Battlefield in this one. I'm going to keep picking Battlefield late in the season like this. Look,
Patriot.
Hush up over it. Look, chill. It's a one-touchdown game. Come on, you get a one-touchdown game in high school, they could go either way. Look, Bobcats, they just have everybody else right where they want them now.
Yeah. I'll tell you who they had was Nick Ferrari-Smith running down the sideline nonstop in this game. This game was not a one-touchdown game. This was a two-touchdown game that closed within one at the end with a late score from Battlefield. Give Battlefield credit. I mean, they fought and they made plays when they had to, but I'm really impressed with Patriot. What I've seen from them is not only do they have the athletes to compete with anybody in this area, but they're consistent. You know, they play every week, and I like that about them, and that's a great win for them. 42-35, first time beating their crosstown rival, Battlefield, and that's always a big deal down in the Haymarket, trust me. All right, let's talk about the Oakton Cougars and the Herndon Hornets. I picked Herndon in this game. I thought, hey, you know, maybe Herndon gets that big Concord win, but, you know, highly underestimated, I think, the heart and coaching of Oakton. They just figure out ways to win, even when they may be a little bit undersized or you know, on the wrong end of the athlete, you know, battle out there on the field. Jason Rowley and his staff do a great job. They win this game 45-31. Herndon has scored 30 points in the final 5 games of the season. I mean, that's incredible now. So they're getting better on offense. Defensively, they haven't been able to do the same thing. They've still given up a lot of points here. But Oakton gets the win. They finished 5-5. Didn't make the playoffs. But I would argue after what they lost from graduation last year, David, and what they were able to accomplish this year, that was a pretty solid job of coaching down there by Coach Rowley and his staff.
No question. Coach Rowley and his group, they always are there, and they rally their guys. Right? Yeah, Oakton, not the best year in school history, but again, I think they're setting themselves up for down the road, as is Brian Day. That group over there that's scoring all those points, besides Bunbury, it's a lot of juniors there, including McLaughlin, Connor Johnson, Hicks. They're all juniors. They'll be coming back next year. They're going to cause some havoc in Conference 5.
Yeah, I think the future is looking a lot better over there. So a pretty exciting finish offensively for the Hornets, and we'll see if that can translate into more wins next year. All right, moving on to Liberty and Falk here. We call it the Bird Bowl. It is one of the great games that you'll ever see if you get a chance to go. And Liberty took care of business. This one wasn't close. Most of the time, these games are pretty close. Liberty pulls away for a 28-10 victory. The Eagles are probably one of the hottest teams around right now. And head coach Sean Finnerty's ball club is really, you know, I think hungry to get some redemption here. First round of the playoffs, they will see Handley, which will be, you know, the first week. And then if they win that, they get a chance to go see Sharando. Both teams that they lost to in the first part of the season. The one thing that Coach Finnerty did is they simplified some things offensively, defensively. Guys are playing faster out there. You can watch it on film. They're getting after it, and they're starting to play really good defense. It's going to be key this week here, Bruce. Anytime you got to go to the Handley Bowl and take on a Handley team, you better be sound defensively. They weren't the first game. That's why they got beat.
No, but and the key is going to the Handley Bowl. No lights there, so it's going to be an afternoon game on Saturday, just like Handley's used to. Now, Liberty's done this before, been there, done that scenario, so I don't think that will intimidate them. I think the focus, though, is to stay away from focusing and looking towards Sharando and stay with the job at hand against Handley, because we talk about some of the matchups and everybody wants to see Briarwood Stonebridge. We get away from here and you get outside the Beltway and down Route 66, and they want to see Liberty Sharando.
Yeah, that's a great game usually, and this one will mean a lot if they can get past Handley. Now, key thing to keep in mind, you know, Handley's beat up. They've got a lot of guys that were in that first game that aren't going to be playing in this game here, so that could lend a little more advantage towards Liberty. We'll talk about that game in our picks of the week coming up. Final game was our game of the week. We're out in Percival. You know, yours truly, Chris Barassa, hyping it as, hey, this is the big game. And guess what? Woodgrove came out and they spanked Loudon Valley. It was 35-0. Guys, nobody saw this coming. No. You had 8-1 Loudon Valley. You had 6-3 Woodgrove. And I'll tell you what, I came away really impressed with Mike Skinner's club. I really feel like after watching this game, you know, they've got the intangibles and they've got the momentum starting towards a big playoff run here. Big touchdown pass to Dylan Miller, who was dynamic here in this one. But the quarterback, to me, was the guy that stood out. Josh Sweet is great all the time. But Will Kester really does not get enough credit on how good he is. He had a couple of great throws in this ball game. They really kept Valley's defense kind of off balance. And when you have a guy that can make the throws, when you come up to the line of scrimmage and try to stop the run, you give people problems. I mean, this dime right here, I'm telling you, he hits Braden Urie down on the 1-yard line. That was a tremendous throw. That's a college football throw right there. And, you know, the thing that stood out to me is that defensively, Woodgrove is very physical, and they're big time. I mean, they're getting after people right now. So Mike Skinner's got this team. I think a lot of people are thinking, hey, you know, maybe Woodgrove 6-3 not that good. Let me tell you something. That win over Broad Run, that should have said something to everybody. But the way they beat Valley, I think is going to come back and make an even bigger statement here toward the back end of this schedule. Bruce, I'll give you a quick comment on Woodgrove to close it out.
Well, the thing about Woodgrove that I see, and I think Dave and I have talked about this a little bit, is Josh Sweet. Being out there in the Western and being the 4A school, not getting a whole lot of attention. I'm going to tell you what, Josh Sweet is just one of those football players that can play for anybody on any team, despite size. I mean, it's all from within side, and the heart of that kid is unbelievable.
Oh, he's a great football player. You see Mr. Nesselrod there taking in the pick six. Josh Sweet closes it out with a touchdown run. And this game, again, it comes down to defense, running the football, and it comes down to making big plays, and Woodgrove did it all night long. So congrats to Coach Skinner and his club. They're finishing 7-3. They will host Loudoun County in the first round of the playoffs. So there you go. Regular season has been put to bed. We're done talking about it. We're going to come back and Inside the Huddle, and we'll talk about the top storylines here for the postseason that starts Friday night right here on Gameday All-Access. Stay tuned.
You know, we were going to put more in the box, naked block. We're going to make quarterback beat us. You know, the good running back was out, so we felt like we could get a little pressure. And I thought the kids played well, fly around. We were banged up at the beginning of the year, and we got everybody back healthy now. So we think we can make a run at it. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's probably. I mean, most of the wins we've held them under 7 points. That just shows Woodgrove defense is hard-nosed. We're going to tackle the guys in space and make plays. We were lucky to get a defensive touchdown today, and that just helped our offense out.
I really think last year helped us because we had such an easy schedule in the beginning, and this year we've been tested throughout. Our second game was Tuscarora, and that was a really tough game, so I really feel like we've been tested the whole time. We know how to finish. Like, that was the big thing when we went in at halftime. We said we have to finish, and we came out and we proved that we could finish the game, so I really thought that was important.
The hard schedules helped us. You know, at the beginning of the year you don't want it, but playing those teams, Briarwood and Tuscarora, you can see where we were tonight. We're playing at that level, and that's, you know, we're healthy, we're in the playoffs, and that's all we can ask for.
After the county game, it was a tough loss, and we knew we had to come back and grind, so we fought on homecoming night and fought on senior night and had a close win there. We knew at that point that we could finish games and put it down in the fourth quarter.
Expectations are always to win. I mean, we got to work really hard. We got to start tomorrow morning, get to bed early tonight, and then start tomorrow morning. Got to prepare and work hard all practice.
Well, you know, he is what he is. You know, he's a warrior. You know, and we're going to ride him as far as we can. You know. He's a tough kid, but the carries don't seem to bother him. You know, we give him Monday off every week, and, you know, it is what it is. We're going to go as far as we can, and he knows that. So.
Oh, it's exhilarating. On the sideline, it's the best watching him run somebody over. It gets me everybody jazzed up. The Wild loves it, coaches love it, the players love it. It's awesome.
We were playing a couple guys, and one of our quarterbacks got a concussion 3 weeks ago, and Will's really stepped up. It's his job, and he played well. So, and we got some nice wideouts. Miller's tough. You can't put 8 in the box with Miller out there, and I thought Urie made the big catch down before half.
JJ, who won the spirit battle tonight, the Wild or the Jungle?
The Wild. Yeah, the Wild did by far. I couldn't hear the Jungle. All I heard was the Wild. So I'm just, you know, repping the Wild, man. They did a great job.
We're excited. We can't wait. You know, we can't wait. We're healthy, and we're going to rock and roll. And we are what we are. We're going to come downhill, and if you can stop us, then you'll beat us. But we'll see if you can stop us.
There we go. Here they come. So 35-0, our final score here tonight. And the Wolverines victorious here on the Gameday Broadcast Network. Stay tuned for more expanded coverage of our postgame Congrats to head coach Mike Skinner and his crew on a well-played game.
My name is Dr. Felix Yuskin, and both my wife and I own the Spine and Joint Health Center here in Fairfax City. I'm originally from this area. I grew up and went to Robinson High School. Played football for the Robinson Rams there, graduated in '91. One of the advantages that a student athlete has here is they always have, the parent that always has access to me. So here in our office we have access to, ultrasound, muscle stem, Russian stem, things to strengthen, take the inflammatory response out of the joint process for those athletes so that they recuperate much faster. At the Spine and Joint Health Center, we would like to be your team doctors so that we can go down this journey together, both on and off the field.
The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior, results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care.
When ice and rest aren't enough, it's time for you to call Robin O'Connor at Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy provides Loudoun and Fairfax with the finest physical therapy around. Hundreds of high school athletes have trusted Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy to help them get back on the field. Don't let that injury go untreated. Call Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy today at 703-724-7474 or visit us online at integratedsportspt.com. It's where athletes go to get back in the game.
The Gameday Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Gameday Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training, train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end zone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior, results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.
Welcome back to Game Day All-Access. I'm Andy Hayes, joined by Bruce Bornarth, David Liddle. Welcome back to our program. It's time for us to get into Inside the Huddle. Now today we're playing a little buy or sell. So we're going to throw out some topics here. You can play along at home. And by any stretch, if you disagree with what we say, email us or tweet us and, tell us so. We like hearing the good comments and the bad. All right, here we go. The first conversation we're going to have is buy or sell. Hard to beat a team twice. I'm going to let David start this one first here, David.
Go right ahead.
Well,
we got a lot of rematches in round one, so is it hard to beat them twice?
There are. I'm going to sell on this. I don't think it's that hard in the game of football in this area high school to beat a team twice. 3 times, yes. Right? But the second time around, a lot of it depends when you play in the schedule. Like you just talked about Handley Liberty in our last segment, right? A lot of difference. That was early in the season, a lot of injuries coming through. Yeah, that's going to be hard for them. But there's going to be some other matchups here where it's not going to be that difficult. Good coaches, if they know there's a chance down the road to play a team, they're not going to show their hand totally. They're going to keep some things up under the sleeve here, and maybe it's some defensive adjustments, maybe some different plays offensively. So I'm selling.
Okay, what about you, Bruce?
Generally, as a rule, this is a question that you buy. Because, yeah, it should theoretically be harder the second time around to beat somebody. But in this area, the teams are so familiar with each other. They basically have been playing the same schedules for the past 10 years. These coaches have been around. Maybe it's a little bit of a carousel, and they change schools every once in a while. But they're so familiar with each other from a coaching standpoint, a fan standpoint, a player standpoint, that there's no secrets anymore. So I don't know that it's that difficult.
Oh, so you're selling too?
I'm selling.
All right, let me just give you a quick analogy.
Here we go.
When you play golf, and you hit one in the woods, and it's just a horrible shot. Or you shank one down the driving range, and you hit a guy in the back of the leg, and
You've played
he's
with
upset.
me,
I played
you?
with Bruce. Then you get the mulligan. And what do you do with that drive most of the time?
I still shank it and throw it in the woods.
Bruce still hits somebody on the driving range, and David shanks it too. But I typically, on the second one, I hit it right down the middle, and it's a perfect drive. Let me tell you something. The mulligan helps. It makes it harder on the team that won the first time. Now here's the biggest key though, David, you hit on it a little bit. When you play a team, but more importantly, are you a team that gets better every week of the season, or do you stay the same? I've talked to some coaches this week, and there's some rematches that are going on, and I asked him, I said, what do you think? I mean, is this the same team you saw in week 1? Well, one coach said to me, yeah, the team we beat in week 1 is the exact same team we're going to face. But we're not the same team. We're way better than we were in week 1. So we feel way better about that than we did going into the season. And then there's other teams where you go, golly, these guys don't look anything like what we saw in that first week. So that's where you have a problem. So are you dealing with a good coaching staff that knows how to get improvement out of your team all year long? Then yes, it's harder to beat a team a second time. Mulligans, remember that. All right, here we go. Second question here. You like that, David? You liked that, didn't you? You didn't know Bruce hit chili peppers on the range, though. You got to be careful with him. All right, Lake Braddock on upset alert. Buy or sell? Brucey? Playing Chantilly.
I did bounce one off a bench and almost take my father-in-law's ear off one time. But that's a whole nother story. Look, has a 16 ever beaten a 1 in the NCAA tournament? No, it's not going to happen here. If anybody's on upset alert, it's kind of in the middle pack there. Could a 12, 13, 14 seed win? Absolutely, I think they could. I don't know that Lake Braddock is the team that's on upset alert. Lake Braddock playing Chantilly, not on upset alert.
What do you think, Dave?
I got to sell on this one as well. Chantilly, look, out of their 5 losses, 4 of them were very close. I mean, they really could have been in the upper end of this bracket with 1 or 2 turnarounds in those games. But Lake Braddock, if they control the line of scrimmage like they've been doing, it's at least a 2-touchdown victory.
The thing is I think for Lake Braddock, I mean, here you go 10-0, right? And the first team you got to play is a Concord school that has good athletes and they're battle tested. They played good teams throughout the year. If you look at Chantilly's schedule and who they've played against, you know, and then you start looking at how close those games were, even the game against Westfield. Then you start to think, well, maybe they're not 5-5 in a different district or a different, you know, scenario where they played different people. Right. You know, you give them somebody else's schedule, maybe they're 8-2. So I think you have to put the Bruins on upset alert because you're not dealing with a bad team now. You're dealing with a team that's played a tough schedule. They play in the Concord district and they're battle tested. And they have players. I mean, Rayshon Smith will test Lake Braddock's defense. Trust me on this one. This game is an upset alert game for Lake Braddock. All right, here we go. Buy or sell. Centerville has a tougher road in the playoffs than Lake Braddock, who is the 2 seed. Do the Wildcats have a tougher road? David, I'll start with you.
Oh, I'm selling this all the way. I look at Lake Braddock. They got to go through Chantilly, potentially Yorktown, potentially Westfield or Patriot before getting to Centerville, right? So I look at Centerville with South Lakes, South County, a Langley or Stonewall potential matchup, which could be their tough one. Right. Both of those clubs are good. And then a Lake Braddock. So I say that Lake Braddock, and really it's because of that Chantilly run early on, that they're going to have to be the tougher road.
Tougher road. What do you think, Bruce?
I've got to sell it. I mean, Centerville, the way they've been playing, the only body that can beat Centerville in this area is Centerville themselves if they mess it up.
The only thing that I would buy on this one is that, you know, Lake Braddock, just what we just talked about a minute ago, hard to beat a team twice. They're going to have to beat a Westfield potentially a second time. They could potentially see Robinson if Robinson beats Patriot in the first round. So they might see some teams that they have already played, which could make it a tougher road, you know, for Lake Braddock than Centerville. So I guess I would sell with you. I meant to say that here. But I don't know. Part of me feels like a number 14 seed Stonewall is the biggest, you know, facade in the whole tournament. Like, I think they're a top 4 talent team in this deal, and that's going to be who Centerville probably has to see, or Battlefield, which we know how Battlefield and Langley, those are good football teams. Like, I don't know. I think it could end up playing out where those games are closer with Centerville than the ones with Lake Braddock. I don't know. I mean, what do I know? Bruce, don't answer that. Buy or sell. Woodgrove is the new favorite in 4A based on what we've seen out of them last week. What do you think?
Yeah, I love Woodgrove, and I've always liked what they're doing. But for some reason, I keep prefacing what I'm about to say about Woodgrove with that kind of thing, how much I'm a fan of them. But I can't sit here and say that they're the favorite. I think they're a little bit one-dimensional. They get into teams like the Liberties, like those out there. I don't know that they're tough enough. They can go toe-to-toe with them. but I don't know that they can get in a shootout with them.
What do you think, David?
Well, are they the favorite, the new favorite? I think they're the new darling, maybe, of the 4A North. Sharando will certainly have a say in this. But, you know, how sweet it is and company are on a roll right now. And Skinner, once again, he's been down this route.
Right.
He's got rings. He knows what he's doing come playoff time. I think Woodgrove's into this for a long run.
I'm going to buy this all the way. Based on what I saw, they're not one-dimensional. Will Kester can throw the ball as well as anybody in this area. And Dylan Meller, who somebody was giving me a hard time about how to say it, Mellor, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's big time. You can't load the box and stop Josh Sweet because you leave him out there, he's going to burn you. And that's what he did all night at the Valley. Let me tell you this about Woodgrove. The thing that makes them, in my opinion, the new favorite is their defense. Their defense is suffocating. I think they're better defensively than Sharando is. And I like their schedule strength better than Sharando's schedule strength. They look like a team that could get into the 5A playoffs and compete. You heard it right here. The new favorite is Woodgrove. I'm buying that all the way. Here we go. Buy or sell. Patriot is the top threat in 6A North to unseat either Lake Braddock or Centerville as the team that comes out of the area. Buy or sell, David? What do you think?
All right, so are we talking what is meant by threat? Are they the favorite, or are they an upstart who could upset?
They're the team that probably nobody's talking about that could do it. They have the players, they have the coaching, they can do it. What do you think?
I'm selling this. It's Lake Braddock and Centerville.
All right, what do you think, Bruce?
I am selling this all the way. You asked a little while ago, was Lake Braddock on upset alert? I'm going to tell you it was on upset alert in week 1. It's these guys right here. It's Patriots. They're playing Robinson. I'm loving the Rams now. We're getting a question later that sort of pertains to that. Robinson's the team I'm going to pull out of thin air and talk about a little bit because I think if anybody's on upset alert and better watch out, it's Patriot this week.
I'm buying it. I'm buying it. I'm watching the game, you know, and I had to listen to Justin Waddell call the game for the whole time. That was, you know, terrible. I'm just kidding, Jay. But, you know, Patriot, they're for real. I mean, they've got the players, and they're consistent. I said it earlier in the show. Nick Ferrari-Smith, I'm telling you right now, if you haven't seen Nick Ferrari-Smith, he is unbelievable. I mean, this guy makes plays every game. And, you know, he and Joe Wilson are going to be on the field at the same time this week. I mean, I'm already getting excited. I want to watch this game big time. Let me tell you, Patriot, I have them going all the way to the game against Lake Braddock for the right to go play Centerville.
But that doesn't make them the top threat
in
6A North. That's why.
But if you look at Lake Braddock and what they've done defensively, when they play a good offense, they've given up points and yards. I mean, South County went up and down the field on them. Did they close it down in the second half? Yes. But they have not been as suffocating as Centerville defensively. So if you got a good offense like Nick Ferrari-Smith and the Patriot team going in there, hey, you never know. I mean, you never know. I'm telling you, Patriot could be that team. They're the top threat to Lake Braddock on their side of the bracket. No question about it. All right, here we go. Buy or sell. Bigger school equals better football talent. This, I mean, prove me wrong here, Bruce. Prove me right. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Bigger school, meaning more enrollment, right? Larger enrollment equals better football.
You know, he's bought everything. He's bought everything thus far this week. I think T-Bones tonight after the show.
Credit card might be maxed out on this.
Exactly. Yeah, you better get that magic out.
Nice
You're doing
change
some
of
buying.
topic. Get yourself in trouble.
Not always. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. Not always. No, you can't sit there and blanketly say that bigger school equals better football. You might have more players. You might have more to choose from, a bigger pool to come from. But I'm telling you what, yeah, talent wins, but you have to have coaching. Coaches don't play. I think better coaches win at this high school level. Let me clarify by saying that. At the high school level, I think it's all about the coaching.
So you could take enrollment and throw it out the window.
No, I'm not throwing it out the window. You can't sit there and...
Well, I mean, you got to choose one way or the other, buy or sell.
I'm selling it.
Okay, so it doesn't equate to better football
just
because you have more numbers.
No, just because you have more numbers does not. Let me put it the other way to you. I'm taking up all your time. But I got this one. I got this one. How many times have we seen a team full of talent underachieve? How many coaches have told us in the past 10 years that we've been doing this, if I had that school or that kid's talent or that team, I would go undefeated? More than once, more than one coach has told us that.
All right, so I heard your comment. Let me hear David's. What do you think?
All right, well, I'm on the fence on this one because just the words LC Bird They had 1,800 students. Ocean Lake's well over 2,000. They're a bigger 6A, and Byrd this year's now back into 5. Centerville has been the smaller Concord school for a long time. Matter of fact, I think they're the second smallest right now, and they're much better. But I think in general what you get with the larger population is not only more players to choose from, you get more band members out, you get more students in the student section, you get more of the local community coming in and donating dollars and time, which makes the overall experience probably better on a consistent basis. But again, you get that one-off year, like LC Byrd last year, man, they came in, they took it to everybody. Hermitage a couple of years ago when Centerville went and beat them, I think Hermitage coming into that game was the #1 team in the state. Right. They only had about 1,200 kids in that school at that time. So it doesn't always equate on the field, but I think overall from the entire program and entire experience, bigger is better.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, you look at Phoebus. I mean, Phoebus was winning Division 5 titles, and they were smaller than a lot of schools that were in Division 4. Obviously, they're 4A now, so that tells you just how dominant they were, and they don't have as many kids in the building. I think you're right. You can sustain success with more kids in the building, probably longer than somebody that doesn't have the numbers, because you get more discrepancy with, you know, classes that don't have the athletes. Whereas, you know, like a Westfield and a Robinson and a, you know, a Chantilly Center, they're always going to be loaded up with some talent. You know what I mean? Whereas in other programs, it may just not be there after a couple years. So I'll buy this a little bit that it does equate that. But, you know, you do have to have great coaching, as Bruce said. So, Bruce, I'll give you a half win on this one here. All right, here we go. Buy or sell, final one here. The state finals every year for the VHSL are played on the same day. All 3 sites and 6 classifications play same times, 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock for the most part, give or take a half hour. The question is buy or sell, should the state finals be played on different dates so that people can go to the games that want to see other classifications? Should the sites and the dates vary? Start with David.
Oh, sure. You know, there's a lot of football crazies out there that would go to every game, you know, if it were available to them. But look, for the most part, this is for the community. This is for your high school community and what's going on. If my son goes to Centerville, Centerville's going deep in this thing, I'm going to Centerville. Would I like to go see Stonebridge and Briar Woods potentially? Sure, but that also is before the state because, right, once you get down to it at Charlottesville or over there in Lynchburg or down in Salem or whatever, well, heck, I'm not running back and forth between those places to see games, even if they are on different days. So I say that it's for the community, it's for the school, leave it all on the same day.
All right, Bruce, your turn.
I'm selling it as well. David's right. There are, but let's be honest. The percentage is probably fairly small of geeks like us that would probably do that and make the trip 2 weeks in a row or 3 weeks in a row to go see all these games at other places. It's 100% right. It's about the community and the teams that are involved in it. I like the way they do it. Now, I like the excitement of being at one site. What's going on at the other site? Now there's so much social media out there. You tweet it everywhere and you get it there. You can get it on your emails back and forth. You can always go back. I know watching sports after you know the results is not the greatest thing in the world, but you can go back and watch it that way. I like the way it is. The only thing that I would maybe suggest and change is I would love to see it over a weekend at the same site.
Okay. So you want to be at the same venue and then maybe just, you know, have times more throughout the day.
Yeah, maybe a game Friday night, 2 games on Saturday, a game or 2 on Sunday, whatever it would take to even it out like that. One site, one weekend.
Well, I think from a media perspective, it'd be great to have the games, you know, on different, you know, days, or Friday, Saturday, you know what I mean, do 3 games a day, you know, if you can do it. But then I know the travel for people on Fridays would be tough, but even take it a week, you know, a week further for the, you know, maybe you have a different date for the different classifications, just because I think, you know, people want to watch the games that don't get to, you know, I mean, so I can understand that argument. This was thrown out there on the message boards and people were talking about it. I can see both sides. They do that in other states. You know, they'll host games on Friday night and then they'll host games on Saturday at the same venue and so forth. You know, that would allow for some more condensed media coverage. So maybe the kids, you know, that don't get live TV, like in Virginia, 5A and 6A usually have live TV, but how about 3A, 4A? Maybe they could do 3A, 4A on Friday night and 5A, 6A on Saturday, and they could all have live TV. You know?
Well, like they do in basketball.
Right.
And basketball is done in the central part of the state. But one point that I would make also, I mean, geographically or distance-wise, from the farthest points of our state can be, what, 5-6 hours apart.
Right.
So sometimes, you know, it's not fair to take a team from South Boston and make them come up here. Let's say we're playing in Northern Virginia.
Right.
Like that.
But like UVA, Charlottesville would be kind of a middle point, right?
Yeah. If you could play everything
Lynchburg's
in the middle
a good
on a weekend,
place. Yeah.
that'd be cool.
You know, it's a good question. I mean, look, the VHSL does a great job, I think, in planning all these events, and I love the fact they've taken it to the colleges. I mean, I really do. I think it's a great deal. And again, you know, we have some forward thinkers now working up there in the VHSL offices that are really thinking about all the fans and how to get the most out of the venues and so forth for the kids. Because when you're a kid, you don't want to go play at a high school stadium. I mean, we've heard people say, why don't they move it to Northern Virginia, you know, and let some of our people have something up here. But there's not a stadium. Whereas a high school kid, you walk into the locker room and you go, wow, man, this is where Virginia Tech or UVA suits up. I mean, that's what the experience is all about. You should be rewarded by that. Take the Greyhound bus instead of the yellow bus to the game, right? I mean, you know, you get to do those kind of special things. So I'm a big fan of how they do it. But I would like, you know, as a football diehard, I'd like to see some of the other games that I don't get to do because we're doing one site and you don't get to experience it all. So there you go. That's it for Inside the Huddle. And, hey, we hopefully answered some of the questions out there that you guys have. But the mailbag is coming up, and it's a deep mailbag here this week. So don't go anywhere. We'll do that after our picks of the week, next on Game Day All Access.
For us, we have my oldest son. We have 3 boys who've come through here. My oldest is 13, so we've been started coming to the camps probably about 7 years ago. It's really good for him. It's his home away from home during the summer, and been real good for his confidence building. The counselors are great. He interacts with them really well, and so when we've got each successive kid to get old enough to come here, and they've been really nice to let us come even a little early and do the full day camps for the younger guys. Same thing, you know, it's a real good confidence builder. They build up relationships with the coaches, and so that's kind of how it all started. And then we've brought them here for individual instruction, top notch, and brought teams in here as well. So this is the best facility in the area, hands down, for our money.
Come by and visit Diamond Sports Training today, where baseball season never ends.
Battlefield 6-3, Patriots 7-2. Agnew dropping back, throwing a bomb, looking for Matthews, complete, touchdown, Patriots, Pioneers!
Justin, that didn't take long.
2nd and 13, long count. Polk comes in motion from the right. McSorley looking right, wide open. Tristan Carter at the 10-yard line. He can have a ham sandwich before he heads to the end zone.
So direct snap to Devon Burns coming around the near side. Got some running room, 50, 45-40, Devon Burns taking it to the house. 70 yards, Devon Burns, touchdown Bulldogs. He got home.
We're back here on Game Day All Access. Time now for our picks of the week. We've got 10 games here that we've identified for you that we're going to throw out there. And right now it's a tight race. Our producer, Helene Shane, is on my heels here, 1 game back. Brucey, you're kind of getting into desperation mode, you know, ×2 now. You only have 5 weeks left to catch up.
I mean, I'm in desperation mode.
It's desperation.
Where it is, you got waxed last week.
But the thing is, I'm still out front, and I'm still up by 1 on Helene, so it doesn't really matter. I was 7-3. You're running out of time, my friend.
Let me tell you
it's
something.
Almost basketball season.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. It doesn't matter if I finish 50 games out. You're still buying a steak.
You know, the problem is, you're right about that. I know I'll get the bill for that. All right, the problem is the improvement each week. I'm just not seeing it from you here. Here we go. We'll start with the first game. Hayfield at Westfield. A rematch. This is the first game of the season for both of these teams. This was a Westfield win. David, you called this game. Flea flicker for Hayfield worked. They had some big plays in the game, but Westfield had even bigger plays. Kickoff return from Devin Burns. And this was a game they were able to pull away from. Do you expect any different in this one?
No, I don't. I believe Hayfield has greatly improved over the last few weeks. I mean, they're on a nice roll right now to get themselves into the playoffs and to get another week out of this. But I think Westfield has too much. They're looking for it. I think Westfield is looking for a rematch with Lake Braddock, and I think they're going to put this one away early. Thrasher Walker, Evan Gray. I think it's going to be the run game that does it.
Brucey, who do you like?
Yeah, I like Westfield, and this is going to be crazy to say I like Westfield's defense. Couldn't say that early on in the season like that, the way they were playing. And their offense was kind of shaky then, too. Westfield, a lot of success in the playoffs. Hayfield, been there a lot. Not a great deal of success.
I'll take the Bulldogs, too. I think they get it done this week. They'll figure out a way here. They always do. All right, South Lakes at Centerville. This one, 16 seed versus the 1 seed. But, you know, South Lakes has talent. I mean, they got athletes over there. Could this be a closer game than some think? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think this is Centerville once again. They, too, are getting some kids back who have been injured the last couple of weeks and starting to work them in. Nick Zizer came back last week. He was a little bit rusty on the offensive side. He had a great tackle on the defensive side of the ball. But I think Centerville is just actually starting to really hit their stride because the starters have only played a half for most of the games this season. So I think they're really starting to pick it up. I think they'll put this one away early.
Bruce,
you talk about Centerville hitting their stride. I think they're extremely focused here. They know that regular season's over, second season is at hand right now. You're not going to see a 16-1 in that.
Yeah, I mean, last year it was Oakton that upset Centerville in the playoffs. Believe me, the Wildcats, they remember that field, and they're not going to let that happen. This is a big win for Centerville. All right, Liberty at Handley, rematch of week 1 again. We just talked about that with Westfield and Hayfield. Liberty and Handley going at it. Handley Bowl on Saturday at 1 o'clock. Now, Handley's missing Justin Washington, who went down with a knee injury early in the season. He's not there. They've also had some other guys banged up. They might get a little healthier. They finished 7-3. But Liberty is a hot team right now. David, this is a team that's playing great on offense, great on defense. You got to figure that going in with the injuries that Handley's had, that Liberty's the favorite, don't you?
Well, yeah, I would say so. You know, Liberty, Kettle Run win, good win. Fauquier last week, you know, big win. But I still kind of like Handley at home on Saturday. I think that's going to come into play here. So I'm going with Handley.
Okay. What do you think, Bruce?
You know, Handley at home is worth something. In this case, I don't know how much, and I don't know if it's, and I don't think it's enough to get them over the top. I like Liberty here in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles. I think Liberty has the advantage, the momentum. Take the team with old Mo on their side. Take the Eagles here in this one. All right, Freedom at Broad Run. This is Freedom Prince William at Broad Run. This is a 7-10 game now. Spartans at home. They finished 7-3. Quality season for Broad Run. Now they get Freedom coming in, who started off 3-0. So this is not a team here, Bruce, that doesn't have players. Now they've got players, even though they have a losing record. They play in a pretty tough conference here. What happens in this one?
Yeah, this is in that middle pick, that 7-10 range that becomes a tough game to pick or should be a closer game there. I'm going with the alma mater and Broad Run at home, and I'm going to put on my armchair coaches and my Monday morning quarterback outfit on and sit here and make a suggestion or maybe some advice here. Broad Run, if you get the ball in the hands of your playmakers, you get them to those 2 wideouts that you have that are outstanding, then I don't think you should have much trouble in this game. You can make it close, or you can decide that it's not going to be close. I think it's up to you guys in Spartan uniforms.
All right, what do you think, Dave?
Well, on last week's show, I said that Broad Run may be one of the early outs in this thing. However, I think they got a good draw here for them, and I think the Spartans are going to come away with the win.
Yeah, I have to agree with you here. I think Broad Run, you know, they've beaten everybody handily except for Stonebridge and Briarwoods, and then, of course, they lost a close one to Woodgrove, who now is looking like a team that could come get in the 5A playoffs and compete. My take on this is that Broad Run will win this game. I do think it'll be closer than people think. Freedom has players, and they will be tough on Broad Run. You know, this could be a close game. We'll find out. All right, R.E. Lee at Stonebridge. R.E. Lee has shown that they can score on anybody. Doesn't matter who you are. They're going to score on Stonebridge. They've also shown they can't stop anybody. Doesn't matter who you are, they can't stop you. Stonebridge might score 80 points in this game if their defense, I'm talking about Lee's defense, plays the way they have here this year. Bruce, who do you like here?
You know, R.E. Lee does score a lot of points this season. They've scored a lot of points against a lot of people, but they've given up an awful lot of points too. And, you know, it's funny. You look at this thing, and early in the season, Stonebridge, those 2 losses to 2 of the top teams in the area, and people say, well, maybe this is not the year for Stonebridge. Maybe this is the year that they get knocked off earlier. Maybe Stonebridge isn't going to be there at the end. Who's the number 2 seed now going into the playoffs when it's all said and done? It's Stonebridge. Stonebridge is one of those programs that is better by the minute. They're better at the end of every practice than they were at the beginning, and they're certainly better at the end of the season than they were at the beginning of the season.
Bruce is taking Stonebridge, by the way. Go ahead, Dave.
You got that figured out?
Yeah.
Michael Jolly is a dynamic playmaker for Lee. He may get off a run or two here or there in this game. Lee gave up a 7-topping pizza last week. They gave up 70 to Lake Braddock. They are not going to be able to stop this Stonebridge attack whatsoever. The Stonebridge faithful, they'll be having fun out there. Heck, the student section might leave by halftime.
Yeah, go to the hockey game. That's what we're seeing in Ashburn. Don't even go there on Twitter about hockey. I don't want to hear about it. All of you talking about that. All right, take Stonebridge. This is a win for Stonebridge here. They'll get it done. All right, next game is a good one. Loudoun County at Woodgrove. Now, this one we didn't expect to be close the first time. We thought Woodgrove would win this game. Loudoun County shocked them. Last-second field goal, they played great in this game. And the Raiders now kind of reeling after a tough loss to Heritage. We didn't see that coming at all. Can they rebound and get ready for another emotional game with Woodgrove, who is playing their best football of the season right now? Brucey, what do you think?
You know, we had the question in by ourselves, it's tougher to beat a team the second time around, and I generally sold that question. I'm buying it in this case. Loudoun County squeaks out a win the first time around against Woodgrove. Woodgrove is that team that's on a roll right now. In Loudoun County, what happened to them last week, I think is going to have ringing effects this week. I'm taking Woodgrove.
I think Skinner's got the Wolverines right where he needs them right at this point. He's got them peaking at the right time. Woodgrove walks away with the win.
Yeah, I'm taking Woodgrove too. They're my top team in 4A North right now. Based on the way they're playing, this game won't be close. All right, Mount Vernon at Tuscarora. Huskies without Noah Reimers taking on a team they've never played before. Mount Vernon, not a great record, 3 wins on the season, but you know they have players. Okay, they've had good players in the past. Coach Wells, good coach. You know, tough season for them, but they can make it all right with a win over Tuscarora here. David, I'll start with you.
Well, Carlton Griffin is a good back. Mataray is the quarterback. Tough kid in there, throws a nice ball. Mount Vernon could come in here, and with Noah Reimers out, it could be a game. I'm going to stick with Tuscarora right now. I think they may have too much for them. But this could be an upset alert.
What do you think, Brucey?
Last time I checked, Tuscarora, there's not just one running back on that roster, right?
You're right. Yeah, Mally Barker. Yeah.
There's another running back on the roster that's pretty good himself, right?
Right.
Kid named Mally Barker, okay? The running game is going to be just fine. Yeah, do you lose a little bit when a Noah Reimers doesn't play? Absolutely you do. That just means more carries for Mally Barker and somebody else to step up. Yeah, Mally Barker's healthy. The fullback is healthy. Tuscarora is healthy.
Yeah, I'm taking Tuscarora here. They're banged up a little with Noah, but you got to take Tuscarora at home. They were on the verge of being the 2 seed. They're better than Mount Vernon. All right, Chantilly at Lake Braddock. Here we go. We talked about the game earlier. Chargers 5-5. Taylor Jensen called it. I would have never bet that after watching them in camp that's what they would have ended up with. But as David said earlier, Chantilly's lost some games by just a couple points the last 3 weeks. They could very easily be 8-2 right now. Okay, so this is a team with a deceptive record going up against probably a 1A team, a top seed team in Lake Braddock at 10-0 here. David, I know you said it's not an upset alert. You're taking Lake Braddock here, but why should Lake Braddock be concerned about Chantilly?
The weather. If it is a cold, windy day out there, and Chantilly with the offense that they run with the read option, and Sidnor does a great job of distributing the ball and getting it to his wideouts as well as Javin Ray, who's a good tight end. They could control the clock, keep Henderson and the offense off the field. They can move the ball and put points up. It's their defense that's been the problem, but again, if they can keep that clock controlled, the wind can help knock down some of that long passing attack that Lake Braddock has. And let me tell you, Rayshawn Smith is going to be up for his best battle this year against A.J. Alexander. That's one to go watch.
I agree completely. What do you think here, Bruce?
I'm taking Lake Braddock in this game as well, but this is a game, upset alert game, I believe, as well. And Chantilly, everybody talks about a lot of the intangibles in sports, but pride matters at Chantilly. That's a big deal. That's very important. And pride has gotten them a long way in the past. They've made some runs when people said they don't have much of a chance. I think it's an upset alert game, but I'm still taking Lake Braddock.
Didn't you say it wasn't an upset alert game in Inside the Huddle?
Who said that?
Is your memory that bad? I mean, you can't remember 5 minutes ago? Killing me. Yeah. This is an upset alert game because you can't take Chantilly lightly with their schedule and who they've played. Lake Braddock should win the game. You're not going to pick a 16 seed over a 1 seed. Nobody does that. Nobody does that and wins their bracket in March Madness, and you can't do it right now.
But
this could be a good game. Bruce might do it. This could be a good ball game. I don't know. I just have a problem. I think Rayshon Smith will take away their best receiver. The problem is they got 3 of them who are all big. I don't think Chantilly can slow them down defensively. Offensively, Chantilly, I think, will move the football. And I think they will have some success. And the longer Lake Braddock lets them stay in the game, the more of a chance of an upset. I mean, that's just the truth, because Chantilly's not intimidated by Lake Braddock. They won't be this week. I'm just telling you. They've seen good teams. They won't be intimidated. But you got to take the Bruins. All right, moving on here. Battlefield at Langley. Final 2 games here on our schedule are outstanding football games. Battlefield on the road at Langley. Langley 8-2 now. Great season for Coach Howerton and the guys down there. Bruce, but they got old Coach Cox coming into town with that Battlefield team, that playoff team that somehow finds a way to just start whipping people. What happens in this game?
You ever watch cartoons?
Every day.
That's
all I do. That's what all the people on Twitter think.
Boomerang and the Cartoon Network, that's the best thing out there. And there's one old cartoon with this wolf that just kind of lays back there and he's got this big old tongue slopping back and forth, this big old steak sitting right there in front of him, just waiting to pounce all over that thing. This is the 2nd season. The regular season's over. This is Bobcat time for now.
You're taking Battlefield?
Absolutely.
You haven't learned your lesson. They got beat last week. What do you think?
I think this is the toughest game to call, personally.
Yeah.
Gallagher needs to have a big game for Battlefield, I believe. You're right. Mark Cox, he knows how to win. He knows how to get them prepared. I like what Langley's done this year. Tyler West is probably the best running back that no one's heard of,
right?
Unless you're really a football geek and you're following this stuff. They got good offense over there. They've come in and beat a team with athletes and a big runner in MJ Stewart early. They beat Chantilly. They've faced their adversity early on. I think Battlefield is going to present a problem, but again, I'm going with the home team on this. I'm going to go with Langley.
I got to go Langley, too, for the one reason that Battlefield couldn't slow down Patriot. And I don't think they're going to slow down Tyler West and Nick Castle in that club. I mean, call me a homer here. I'm going with the home team just like David. I'm taking Langley. There's something about this Saxon team. They're big and physical, and Battlefield hasn't shown me that they're good enough on defense to win this ball game. Take the Saxons. All right, final game to talk about here. Robinson at Patriot. Here are the Rams coming off a 45-9 drubbing here from Centerville. Don't feel bad. Everybody's gotten that this year from Centerville. Everybody. Nobody's been close. But here's Patriot coming off a big win. So they feel good about themselves. It's kind of like the tale of 2 sides here. Robinson limping in, Patriot strutting in. What happens?
Here's where I'm going to surprise you.
Oh, don't tell me.
All along. Who have I knocked on the past couple of years
Robinson.
a lot? Up and down, up and down. I said last week, I'm on the Ram bandwagon. This is my upset pick of the week. I'm staying on that Robinson bandwagon.
You're staying there?
I'm staying right now.
Even after they got beat like that?
I'm picking. Hey, who didn't get beat like that?
I mean, fair enough. I got you. But, I mean, even after they got beat.
Throw that game out the window. You can't count.
Doesn't matter. Don't watch the film. Doesn't matter.
There's 10 teams that can't count the game against Centerville and worry about that when it comes to the future and who's at hand this week.
All right. Maybe the smartest thing you said all year. Go ahead.
Joe Wilson was limping in last week's game. It was obvious that he's not back at full health. I don't know. They took him out midway through the 3rd quarter. It looked again like an ankle potential problem. If he is fully healthy, there's your shot against Patriot. Without him, I think Robinson is going to see the same type of athletes at Patriot at the skill positions that they saw last week, and they could not contain them. I think Patriot gets the win.
I'm taking Patriot too. I'm with you, David. Bruce he's emotional. I got my poker face on right here. Nick Ferrari Smith. You can talk all you want about Joe Wilson. Love the kid, great back. But Nick Ferrari Smith, he's as good and he's playing even better right now than anybody else in this area. I'm telling you, aside from the Centerville guys, no offense, David. Here's the bottom line. Patriot, I told you earlier, they're the top threat in 6A. They're going to beat Robinson easily in this game. That's going to be the biggest call of the week right here. You ready? Patriot, big over Robinson. All right, that's it for our picks of the week. We're going to send it away to our top plays from last week on the Game Day Broadcast Network. When we come back, it'll be time for the Game Day mailbag. And boy, we got a ton of questions, so stay tuned. That's coming up right after this.
The top 10 plays of the week on the Game Day Broadcast Network are proudly presented by Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Game Day Broadcast Network.
Handoff Martinez, right side. Got a block in the middle. Martinez, he's gone! See you, Anthony Martinez for 6! Touchdown, Falcons!
Nice and long right there. Utterback's going to take it at about the 4-yard line. He's out past the 15, cuts, makes a couple moves. He's out past the 30, still on his feet. Past the 40, he's on his feet, going down the sideline, midfield, 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, and he is going to get taken down at the 14-yard line. What a return for Garrett Utterback, and the Liberty Eagles are in business at the 14-yard line.
2nd down and 5. Herndon at their own 40. Takes a snap. Handoff Bumry to the 45, 50, 45, 40, 35, 30. It's a foot race to the 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Bumry, 60 yards.
Scoville back to pass. Fumbled, picked up by David Kearns. He's in the end zone. Touchdown, Chantilly. There's a momentum shift for you.
Yes, indeed.
This time got a good snap. Rockwood again, a nice kick. This time it's going to be Tutt at the 45. He's looking for some blockers. He gets the lead. Good block by Turner. Tutt at the 40. Tutt at the 30. Charles Tutt is going to score to the House Central Wildcats. Charles Tutt one more time on the scoreboard.
Trips to the far. Rayshawn Smith to the near. Sidnor by himself in the backfield, back to pass. Looking for Smith over the left-hand side. Ball is tipped up in the air and caught! Tremendous play there. Rayshawn Smith.
Handoff. This time coming to the near side. Into the secondary. At the 40. At the 30. Ferrari Smith plants his foot. Cuts inside at the 10. Nick Ferrari Smith! Goal line! Touchdown!
What a move to get in the end zone.
To the right, one to the left, and Eskandarian with him in the backfield. Zong takes the snap. He's back. Fires going into the end zone. Pass is broken up and brought down by Nick Lemansky. What a catch in the end zone.
Whoa! Stonebridge goes up with 2 defenders. Both think they're going to pick it. Both guys think they're going to pick it. One's a picking and one's a grinning, and guess what? Neither one got it.
Warner, again with 4 wide receivers, back to pass. Gonna throw it in the flat. This one's picked off. Going the other direction. And it's gonna be a touchdown for Woodgrove. Nesselrod takes it in on the pick 6.
Well, it's a great play by Nesselrod, dropping into coverage. Warner never saw him. He thought he was going to be bringing pressure off the edge, but he dropped into coverage underneath and made a beautiful interception. That ball was fired. You see it right here. He drops underneath, one-hands it. That's a beautiful catch, Andy.
That'll be on the top plays of the week.
Turner in motion, it's the pitch, and it's going to be a halfback option. He throws it up. Turner, Tutt tries to go for it, and Tutt with an incredible catch. Charles Tutt took it out of the hands of the Robinson defender. What an incredible play by Charles Tutt. If he's not the best receiver in this district, I don't know who is.
I don't know how that wasn't intercepted. The whole time I'm thinking, oh, interception, interception, oh, interception.
That was a balloon throw by Turner. Tutt between 2 Ram defenders. It looked like they had it. He came back through the middle of the field and caught it. Highlight of the week.
Thank you for watching the Verizon Wireless Top 10 Plays of the Week on the Game Day Broadcast Network. For more coverage of Northern Virginia high school football, visit us online at GameDayMagazine.com and join the network today.
Welcome back to the Game Day Broadcast Network and Game Day All-Access, our first playoff show here. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage tonight. All right, time for us now to get into the Game Day mailbag. We got 7 questions, great questions this week. Keep them coming. All you got to do is tweet us at GBN Mobile. It's real simple. Follow the little bird across the screen, no big deal. Or send us an email at GameDayMagazine@AOL.com. Real easy. All right, you guys ready? I got the mailbag this week. Here we go. First question. This one is from the DC sports fan who's a regular here. We love his questions. He said, what was the best playoff run by the team that was least expected to do it, in our opinion, since we've been covering the games? What do you think, Bruce? I'll let you say.
I think it's Loudon Valley. What was it, 2 losses on the year? Nobody expected that at the beginning of the season for them, or 3 losses for them to.
Okay.
They're in the playoffs.
So you're
right?
looking at it this year. That's fair enough.
Well, am I misreading the question?
Well, no, I mean, you could do it both ways. You could say, what was the best playoff run from a team ever that we've covered, or this season? I like that, though.
I'm just looking at this season.
You're looking at this season, Loudon Valley.
Loudon Valley.
Great comment. Go ahead. What do you think, David?
All right, well, I'll go the opposite way. Last year's Oakton team, they were getting schwacked at the end of the year. Centerville beat them 49-14 or whatever it was. I mean, just a hammering. And they came through. They upset Lake Braddock. They upset Centerville. They went to Westfield and came away with the regional championship. That was a great run by a good club.
I agree.
How's that different than what Chantilly did until they got up to Brandon Hogan and
you already got
Osborne?
your turn. Now you're taking mine.
Oh, did I take yours?
Chantilly's run back in 06 was just as good. I hate when you do that.
I'm sorry,
Gosh
partner.
darn it.
I'm so sorry. Honest.
How about the 08 Broad Run team, though? Nobody had them winning the state title. Nobody. I mean, they were 14-0. That was a great run. Nobody expected that.
And did they go down 7-0, 14-0 in that game?
No, they were down early to Amherst, I think. No, they went up early. You called the game.
No,
you can't remember last week.
No, they went down early in that game.
They did?
Pick 6, I think it was. And you were thinking,
Maybe so. Amherst in the snow? I thought it was when TJ put it on the ground. No?
That was later. That was after it started snowing.
All right. So here's the bottom line. Those are some teams. Nice question. I like it. Next one here. By at KF Thurston. He says, does the 6A South area have an internet talk show like Game Day? Here in the North, we love and appreciate your show. Boy, you're my favorite fan here this week. We thank you for the love for Game Day out there. We love providing the show to you. We just love talking about football. The answer to the question here is they do. They're not the same kind of format. But I got a buddy down there by the name of Matthew Hatfield who helps host the Cox Sports Report on Channel 11 down in Hampton Roads. And they go through and show highlights of the 6A and 5A games down the beach. Have you seen that?
I have. And they also have a radio show that they do, kind of a weekly call-in talk show type thing on the, I guess, the ESPN radio show down there.
Right. So there is a little bit of coverage down there. Not the same level of our show. I don't know for sure. I mean, the only time I've seen has just been highlights. But they do a good job down there. Matthew does a great job. Good guy.
Thank you, Mr. Thurston. That's a great question.
It's a great question. That's right. We appreciate the shout out here. All right. Next question here is from at G. Bastelli. Which 5A Loudoun County team goes the furthest in the playoffs? Stonebridge, Briarwoods, Tuscarora, or Broad Run? Who wants to step in the hot water here first?
Jumping, baby.
Bruce, you're in. You're diving in.
Thurston's his uncle. You know that. Last question.
I thought you were my uncle. What are you talking about?
I'm not that old there, Junior. Come on now.
I look older than you.
Hey,
I'm
going Briarwoods. Here comes the homer in me. But Briarwoods, had this question been asked week 1 or week 3 of the season, I don't know about that. But I think Briarwoods is so much stronger. You talk about teams being different now than they were then, that point of the season.
I'll take your Briarwoods and I'll raise you a Stonebridge.
Okay.
I'm tired of hearing about it, how Stonebridge can't do this and that.
I didn't say Stonebridge
I'll take your
can't
homer
do
cap
that.
and I'll turn it around with my homer cap. Let me tell you something, man. Stonebridge has played better competition than Briarwoods. Have they not? I mean, as a whole, have they not played 2 quality opponents, whereas Briarwoods has played probably 1 quality opponent? You know, you're writing off Coach Thompson and the Bulldogs too early. You didn't even hesitate with that. Like, normally you would say, golly, that's tough. You didn't even hesitate.
Because I know
the game's not even going to be played at Briarwoods.
And your twisted mind, and I know the way you think. I knew this question was coming.
I'm telling you, when you go there, when you go there on Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving Friday, your turkey's going to be cold from the crew up there in the booth because you don't even consider what they've done over the past decade. I love Briarwoods, what they're good at, but let's be honest, okay? What Stonebridge has done has been equally as impressive over a decade more. and you're just writing them off. You're not even giving them a chance.
Now he doesn't need you go to
Let's go, man. Let's go. Let's
go
go.
to so many extremes doing that.
Let's go.
You talk
right
about
now.
writing Stonebridge off.
Give me a break.
We had a question a couple of weeks ago, and I took the Stonebridge side on it. You said which team was something about the best in the area or the most respectful team.
The team is playing the best at the time.
Respect the best at the time.
This is the playoffs.
I took
Bruce.
Stonebridge, and I said Stonebridge earned it.
This is the playoffs. Okay, don't discount
If
Stonebridge
this game
that way.
at Thanksgiving, if it happens, was still going to be at Briarwoods, he'd be going the other way.
Listen, I'm just tired of hearing you discount, Stonebridge and what they do. I mean, you know what? Listen, I look at it both ways. I give respect to both sides. I mean, you didn't even hesitate. You just jumped right in. Homer me says Briarwoods. You didn't even think about it.
I've been thinking about it for weeks.
Think about how many championships Stonebridge has won regionally here in the past 10 years and where they've been played at. On Friday after Thanksgiving at Stonebridge. That, by the way, that's where this game's going to be played. Listen, chalk it up. I'm just telling you right now. That is not an easy win for Briarwoods.
Don't listen to Mr. Extremist over here. He's got everybody jumping off the edge of the cliff and the top of the building.
You're getting my blood pressure going
Getting
here.
fired up over it. Look, I've never disrespected Stonebridge, and this isn't disrespect of Stonebridge either. I think Stonebridge is great. I think Stonebridge is one of the best teams in the whole area, in the whole state, and this whole regional part of the country.
But you don't want to pick them.
I'm the one that's always said, what's Stonebridge done over the past 14 years since they've been in existence? They've just nothing but win. They've lost one district game in their entire history. I'm the one that stands up for Stonebridge more than he does. I just happen in this case to take Briarwoods.
Homer. Terrible.
Well,
David, break the tie. Who's going further?
Who's going further? So you look at it, Stonebridge, talk about record, right? They also had some quality opponents in Langley and Fairfax, not just the ones they lost to. Briarwoods has had some quality opponents in Tuscarora, North Stafford. Okay, so you look at strength of record, you would say Stonebridge is better. I think Briarwoods wins the game. I'm going with Briarwoods.
All right. As you can tell, it's already getting heated, and we're still 3 weeks away if that game's going to happen. But Bruce, he just continues to look past Stonebridge, and he's drinking that orange Kool-Aid over there. And let me tell you something. All right, Coach Thompson's not going to be happy. I'm telling Mickey. All right, next question.
Mickey will know before
I'm telling Mickey on. Here we go. From Miles in Chantilly, he says, you have Lake Braddock versus Patriot and Centerville versus Stonewall in the regional semis on Twitter. But who beats Westfield? Well, I put this out as my early take. Somebody asked me, what do you think is going to happen in the regional, semis, or what's it going to be? And I think Patriot is the second best team in that side of the bracket. Based on what I've seen offensively, defensively, I think they're the second best team. They have more of a threat to score than Westfield does. Just my opinion based on their body of work. David, agree or disagree?
Well, we talked about Nick Ferrari-Smith. Get the keys out, start the Ferrari up, let's let that run. But he's got a running mate over there in Caparella who can haul it as well. Cody Agnew, very good quarterback. And you also have, what's the last kid? Nick Matthews, who's the receiving talent over there.
Right.
So again, they're well balanced offensively. I like their defense. I think Westfield, not Centerville. Centerville's not going to have a problem.
Right.
Westfield is going to have a problem throwing the ball against Patriot. And again, they're going to have to come back to depend on Tyler Thrasher-Walker and Evan Gray. If you shut the running game down, I think Patriot would walk away with the win.
The biggest thing that is going against Patriot is their experience. They don't have any. Whereas Westfield, they've been there. They've done that.
Yeah, but you know what? See, the Patriot family has been there during their Battlefield days, right?
Just playing experience in a big game in the postseason. We'll see how they come out this week against Robinson. I could be totally wrong. Westfield people, don't get mad at me. I'm just looking at it from a talent standpoint, what I've seen, the way they have played with their consistency all year. That's going to be a tough game for Westfield to win, although it will be at home. I wouldn't be surprised to see Westfield win that.
Not at all.
But somebody asked me, who do you see beating Westfield? And I think it would be Patriot. I think they're the favorite in that side of the bracket to go and upset a Westfield, a higher seed, to play Lake Braddock.
What you two are both forgetting is that Robinson's going to beat Patriot this week.
Well, that's what you said in your pick, so we'll just discount that. All right, here we go. Good
Hey,
question.
here's my lack of research. Is Stonewall on that side of the bracket?
No, they're on the other side of the bracket.
All right,
Good deal. At VA, Buckeyes 6. Here's a Buckeye fan. Here we go. Which non-skill position player has been the most impressive this year, and who is to be watched in the postseason? So non-skill position, I think David Liddle said it best. We got to identify what that means. So you can't be a tailback, can't be a receiver, can't be a quarterback, can't be a defensive back, That's a skill position.
Oops,
so
there goes mine.
All the big uglies.
No D-backs?
All the linebackers. Those are all the fullbacks. Those are the guys that, not the guys that carry the ball, but the big uglies up front that block. Who you like? The tight ends.
Well, Chad Wiggins is the most dominating defensive player in the region,
no doubt.
Period, on any squad. So look out for Chad Wiggins. But I'm going to go to the trenches for a second. There's two guys who I say watch. Josh Smith, who is the center for Centerville, and also rotates in on the defensive line. Great defensive lineman. If they just put him there full time, he'd be all-state at that spot. And for Lake Braddock, it's Reese Burnett. Again, a big 300-plus pounder, defensive tackle, and offensive lineman. He gets the job done for Lake Braddock. So watch those two guys.
I like Lance Hammond too. He's played great this year. Brucey, who do you have?
I've got two. I'm going to go to Tuscarora. I'm going to go to linebacker Jason Chubbuck. Kid makes plays all the time. We're calling his name constantly throughout the game, but he seems to, just quietly gets the job done and just rolls right along. I'm going to go my homers to Briarwoods and Brian Campazzoli on the defensive line.
Two good guys. I think for Stonebridge, I'd say Aaron Crawford. I mean, he's had a great second half of the season at the D-line position, and they're going to need that in the postseason big time. He's played really well. I think for Woodgrove, how about Will Hoffer? I mean, he's been awesome. Mr. Nesselrod out there has been getting it done as well with some big plays. When you start looking at, defensive guys, I mean, Daquan Earls played great. He's a skill guy, but you can't put him in there. But defensively, Jack Hawkins and Will Yancey for Broad Run, they've had a good season as well. So those are big guys up front. Those are kind of the guys that come to mind for me. I would probably go on that route. I love Chad Wiggins, though. He's the best defensive player I've seen in this area. I'll say this, colleges, if you haven't seen enough, I don't know what you're looking for. I mean, some of these guys that don't have big offers, I mean, Chad Wiggins, I'm telling you, he can go right now, go play in the Big 12, the ACC, the SEC. He's that good. I mean, I don't know what they're watching. I just don't know. And my dad's a college coach. I'm calling him, Chad, just hang in there, man. I want to see everybody offering you because you're that good. I mean, I
agree.
It's unbelievable sometimes.
And Tim Settle at Stonewall. I know he's just a junior, but he's got offers already. Several D1 offers.
Yeah, and Jake Pinkston's another guy that's played great for Robinson. He's a tough guy up the middle. Shaq Jackson, the big tight end? He's the guy to keep in mind. Mr. David Liddle, the youngster, has played really well at tight end as well. He wouldn't say it, but I will. And that's about it. Good question there. All right, here we go. You ready? The final one, and let me just see if I get this right. I just dropped my format for you. Here we go. Third to final one. At Backyard Dent 703. What would you say Centerville's biggest weakness is outside of beating themselves heading into the postseason? All right, gentlemen. Biggest weakness, what do you think? Scout them, David Liddle. What's their weakness? Or you don't want to tell them, Bruce? You might have to go because he don't want to say it on the air.
Centerville had some penalty issues early, I think, didn't they, in the season? I may have corrected that a little bit along late way, but some
celebration penalties for too many fight songs playing.
Yeah, they've had some aggressive penalties where they've gotten some unsportsmanlike and some personal fouls. They really haven't had anything. They're actually very disciplined on the line. I would say, quite honestly, the only weakness that I see is the fact that these kids have not had to play deep into a game whatsoever. I mean, Westfield, they played deep into the fourth quarter, but it was 28-0.
Right.
Last week, Coach Haddock pulled the starters out early in the fourth quarter, midway through the fourth quarter, where they're up 45-9 because it was senior night. He wanted to give the kids, a chance. All the seniors got in the game, and I would say that'd really be it. Have they been able to get into a close game and prove their mettle in a close affair late in the game?
What do you think, Bruce?
I haven't seen them enough, to be honest with you. I've seen them play twice this year, and again, the only weaknesses I see is battle-tested. How much is that worth anything? What's the value behind that? Probably not a lot.
When have they had to throw to win the game? When have they been behind? A couple years ago, the 011 team was dominant. I mean, they barely played in the second half, too, except for one game during the regular season. That was against Westfield. And they were able to get into the state playoffs, and they go to Hermitage, and all of a sudden, the first play of the game, Derek Green, who's the #1 running back last year in the country, takes off on a 70-yard touchdown run.
He got caught behind by Connor Coward, and they had to settle for a field goal. Let's not forget that.
But let me say, but they fell behind in that game a little bit, and they were tested late. You know what I mean? Now that crew found a way to overcome that.
Right.
What we haven't seen from this team, because I think that game's coming. It's either coming from Lake Braddock or it's coming from, somebody in the state championship game. What they're going to do to respond to that. I think that's a weakness because you don't know. You just don't know until they get tested.
I think what you're saying is shock value, right? If somebody comes out and jumps on them, say there's a turnover or two or something like that, and the next thing you know, Centerville spins around, and then they're down 14-0. How do they respond to
adversity? Have they overcome any adversity?
Well, they've had 2 times this year where they fell behind 7-0 early in the first quarter. Last week against Robinson and early on against Hayfield. They immediately turned around and put up 40-plus points.
Right.
But as far as battle-tested, I think you have to go back to last year's loss against Oakton, where Kyle Downer does a John Elway helicopter-esque, falls in the end zone, after a scramble on the last play of the game. And those same group of 16 juniors and the 6 seniors that are manning all these positions, that was the same group that was out there last year at the same time. So, yeah, I say that one sticks in their mind. They realize what they have to do. It's not a new group that hasn't had any of that experience.
But let me
it's
ask
just a year ago.
Because in my opinion, they're going to be tested in a close game. I think it's coming with Lake Braddock. I think Lake Braddock will create problems for them. Can they beat Lake Braddock? Of course they can. But, I want to see how they're going to respond to that adversity. They're not going to blow out Ocean Lakes or Oscar Smith, in my opinion, or Hilton, who you like as well. I don't think that's coming. Even though they did in the preseason.
They did.
But I think Ocean Lakes and Oscar Smith are the 2 premier teams in 6A South. I just don't think Centerville is going to have the same type of game they've been having with people later on in the postseason. It just doesn't work that way. Eventually you're going to see a rival that can go up toe-to-toe against you and give you a game. So how do they handle the adversity?
Well, once again, you go back to last year's state. Ocean Lakes came in on a roll, all the points, whatever. LC Bird shut them down smack.
Agreed.
After giving up the opening touchdown on the first play from scrimmage.
Totally agree. Now, the other thing that really is their biggest weakness are injuries. You mentioned Xavier Nickens-Iser and being, dinged up and rusty. He's coming back, but, Tyler Love's still not back. If anybody gets hurt in the first round, second round, that's their biggest weakness.
Outside of Scott Walter going down.
Right.
Tyler Love was probably the biggest loss they could have really had, quite honestly. He's the quarterback of the defense. He is a run stuffer. He doesn't miss assignments. But again, they have enough depth. Andre Horner, the sophomore, stepped in there for Tyler and done a nice job, right? Chad Wiggins stepped up, and Jake Bainey, talk about kids to watch in the postseason that you don't know. His kid has had a fabulous year. And John Jennings, the other outside linebacker. So they have enough, and they got a lot of depth on the defensive line. But, if Scott Walter goes down, Joe Ferrett's going to have a big job in there.
No doubt.
So
that'd be tough. All right, here's a good question here from Keith in Chantilly. Now, he writes, with the playoffs featuring several teams under 500, do you think the VHSL would have been better off going to 4 or 5 classifications with 16 playoff teams instead of the current 6 classifications? So dropping it back a little bit so that there's not so much, I guess, of a discrepancy in the postseason. Because in 5A North, as an example, 6 or 7 of the 8 lower seeds have losing records. And I said it last week, I don't think they should be in the playoffs. I don't think that's a good system if you've got that many losing teams in the postseason. What do you think?
Well, the way they've revamped this whole thing, you had teams like Lake Taylor, who was Division 5 last year, and now they've moved back to 4. So I think what you've had happen is, we talked about some of the schools that had smaller population and did well in the larger classifications. They've been bumped back. And then the other schools who were weak traditionally in football are still there, and so they're filling the bottom of these brackets.
Yeah.
It's a hard one to come up with a perfect system at this time, I think.
There's teams that, obviously the way they did it in the northern region, you only had 8 teams getting in. There's a lot of teams that obviously wouldn't have made it that would have been in 6A, would have been 5-5, 6-4, even winning teams. But 5A is a much bigger discrepancy here. So how do you fix that? I think Keith he's hitting on a great question. Could that have been done by a structure, change at the VHSL? Instead of going to 6, you go to 4 or 5. But does that answer the other question, which are enrollment issues, teams playing? I don't know that it answers that.
I'll recognize that I'm in the minority of a losing record not making the playoff. You and I aren't going to agree on that.
Never.
And I'm sure I'm in the minority with that. But if you look at it, it's always been 5 weeks. Some teams needed to play because of structure and the number of teams in a given region that made the playoffs. Some teams in the postseason, it was 4 games to the state championship if you had a bye. But it's always been 5 weeks long. And the longest that a team had to go, if you didn't have a bye in your area, was 5 weeks to get there. All they have done is really kind of changed that up and gone to the point system. And I think the flip side, what's the positive side about it? I think this question is focusing on the negative and the teams with the losing records that get into it. And I've personally experienced with this. My son's senior year, they went 9-1, didn't make the playoffs. That's happened a lot in the past. How many times have we seen teams with big-time 8-2, 9-1, even some very strong 7-3 teams not make the playoffs because of the old system? This at least eliminates that. And if it takes care of that, I would rather see teams that maybe don't deserve to get into the playoffs get in if that means that teams that should make the playoffs don't get in. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you confuse probably half the population watching this show.
Well, explain what I was just trying to say.
But Bruce is saying it's better to have losing teams in the playoffs than to have winning teams that don't make the playoffs that deserve to be in. But I think the foresight in this is that, I think the VHSL and the membership with the athletic directors think that the programs are going to, they're going to trying to figure out the right word. They're going to grow into the classifications. In our area especially, you have a lot of programs that are just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, more enrollment in their schools. They're not going backward, right? I mean, everybody, continues, especially in Loudoun County. You got teams that are continually adding more enrollment every year. So they kind of probably would expect that the quality of play will continue to increase, and you may eliminate that in 2-3 years down the road. I don't know that for sure, but I think this is kind of a rare season as well. Mm-hmm. A lot of times in the 5A playoffs, you'd have 2 or 3 that have losing records. To have 7, that's a little bit different, than years past.
But
we are having more in, too.
The other thing is, you bring up that point, but the teams that are at the bottom right now with those records, they're not a new school. It's not a John Champ squeaking in. It's a R.E. Lee who's been in existence forever, and Edison who's been there for a long time. And
those programs in years past have been good. Yeah, so, it's kind of hard. I mean, Lee played in the 2010 regional final.
Right.
And Edison in 06, 07, 08, 09, they were there every year. So how do you base it based on 1 year? You can't make a decision based on just 1 year. So Keith, maybe this year it would be better to be 4 or 5 classifications, but next year it may not. It may not be at all. And so I think you got to make the move for the bigger picture. And Bruce says you need more teams, even if they have losing records in the postseason. That's Bruce's idea. All right, here we go. Next question here from a couple guys. Ready? This is from @Corey Hilbreth and @Prince William 9, who's Will Kester, by the way. They said, who are the 4A and 5A sleepers that are not top 5 seeds? David?
Well,
you're the research man. What do you got?
4A, Woodgrove. They're number 6. I think Woodgrove's going deep. I really do.
I agree with that.
On the 4A side, go to Bruce on 5A. I'll come back to me a second. I have it here somewhere. I wanted to look at it.
Well, the other 4A school, would you consider Liberty a sleeper?
Yeah. I mean, I
kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, all talk's been Sharando.
Yeah.
I would kind of say Liberty. Mountain View, I think is possibly another one.
Yep.
Is North Stafford a sleeper? I don't know.
Well, they're 5 seeds, so they'd be top 5. But.
Well, all right. And can I say one more thing here? We had a question a little while ago about the players that the quote-unquote non-skilled guys that we talk about. Corey Hilbreth on defense is another one of those guys.
Right. Agreed. What about, in 5A, I'm trying to think of, Falls Church.
Yeah.
They got a tough road to get to Massaponax. But, do we even know about Massaponax? I mean, they're 10-0. Do we really know how good they are? We know North Stafford came up here and beat Briarwoods earlier in the year. But, other than playing North Stafford, who have they really played? Does a Falls Church go down and test them a little bit? Does a Tuscarora, test them? I mean, you have to think that, maybe there's a difference in brand of football. I don't know. I mean, I kind of feel like there's a chance. I mean, Broad Run, they've got athletes. Mm-hmm. Spartans could get into it in a hurry. You gotta watch out now. They get hot. You never know.
Yeah. David so they may see Stonebridge second round.
Too.
David said earlier, you can't count out Hanley any Saturday afternoon at the Hanley Bowl.
Right. Right. At 4A, King George and Dominion are playing. That's a good game. Dominion is a lower seed, but they they could be a team to look out for. You never know.
They're playing much better at the end of the season now.
I'll tell you what, I just love the fact that the Game Day Nation is lighting up our mailbox here. Folks, continue to send it in at GBN Mobile. That's our Twitter address, and you can also email us at GameDayMagazine@AOL.com. Time now for us to just give you a final thought. Bruce, I'll give you the floor first here. Playoffs start. Here we go.
You know, we've talked a lot about football, and this is a football show. We talk about winning streaks, and we talk about great programs and the success that a lot of these schools have had in a short amount of time and the number of state championships they've won and maybe in a row. Well, listen, I've got something that'll match all of them. The Briar Woods Falcons cheerleaders won 4 state titles in a row. They were regional runners-up this year, didn't win it this year, but 4 in a row, that's a streak that's hard to match. You think about if you're a freshman all the way through your senior year, you've won 4 in a row. How many football teams have done that?
It's true.
How many others? Any sport has done that other than Loudoun County volleyball?
No, I should have known if I'd given you the floor, you're going to Briarwoods. What do you got here, Dave?
I could have gone kicker.
You could have.
Well, I'm going to take Sharando 4A North. I'm going to take Briarwoods to go down and match up with LC Bird. I think that's going to be a potential great game in the 5A championship. And I'm going to take Centerville coming out of this. And if you haven't been able to go out and see Centerville, fans, go see them. This is an entertaining, fun club to watch. And again, they're going to be tested, I think, through these latter part of the rounds of this 6A North route. But I think Centerville is going to go down to Charlottesville and put up a great battle for a chance at a state championship.
I know he won't say this, but it's also a great group of kids. It's fun. It's an easy group to get behind and root for.
Yeah, I think the other thing, too, is just to finish it out. I mean, we're just so excited to call the playoffs. I mean, what a great time. This is the best part of the year. You're chasing a championship. You know, for the kids out there, remember one thing. You know, you only get so many opportunities. We've been talking about it all year. You only get so many Fridays. Well, now, you know, you're in the postseason. Every game, every practice could be the last one you play. Now, as a senior, you will always remember the last game that you ever played. You'll remember the last week of practice you ever had. And you remember turning in your uniform for the last time, especially a lot of the kids that won't go on and play college football. So don't leave anything anywhere but on the field. Just don't leave it anywhere because you have to put it all out there. You'll never regret it if you do. I'm sure David and Bruce would agree with this, that it's a special time, but it only happens once in your life. You don't get to go back to high school later on. Some of you out there on Twitter think that we are still in high school, as Bruce especially. Bottom line is, enjoy the road to glory. It starts this Friday night. We hope you guys will tune in. Got some great playoff games coming out here on the network on Friday night. If you can't make it out to the games, hey, tune in, come back and watch the replays. We hope you enjoy the coverage here. For Bruce Bornarth, David Liddle, I'm Andy Hayes. See you next time here on the Game Day Broadcast Network.
The Game Day Broadcast Network is proud to present high school football. This exclusive broadcast is being powered by Integrated Sports Medicine and Physical Therapy. Get back in the game of life. Manhattan Pizza, now serving Ashburn, South Riding, and Leesburg with the best dang pizza in the world. Verizon Wireless, the official wireless provider of the Game Day Broadcast Network. Diamond Sports Training, train with DST Performance today. Bellator Sports Memorabilia, the premier sports memorabilia store in Northern Virginia. EndZoneCamera.com, the most efficient and affordable end zone camera system on the market. The Spine and Joint Health Center, offering patients superior results-oriented care, proudly serving Northern Virginia with the finest spine and joint care. Quarterback University, take your skill to the next level and enhance your future today. By Max Muscle Sports Nutrition. Max Muscle, partners in health. Atlanta Bread Company of Sterling. Come for the food, stay for the culture.